Hey YouTube, day 4, and we got quite a bit of stuff done today. Unfortunately, it's not terribly interesting stuff, but stuff that needed to happen nonetheless. And for those that are following along step by step, I think all of this stuff is important stuff that leads us to our next goal, which would be separating the body and the frame. So in order to do that, we've got to do a bunch of menial tasks. Which all prove to be more time consuming and cumbersome than you ever thought they could possibly be. Day 4 started with a fairly warm morning. It was cold, but the temperatures were going to fall off and go sub-freezing in the afternoon, and they were going to be that way for quite a while. So I thought it's a good time to pull the Bronco out of the garage and power spray the underneath side. I tried to decrease the engine as best I could. I was trying to do stuff quickly because it was going to get cold and I wanted to get all cleaned up and get hoses and stuff put away and cleaned up before it froze. But I took 54 years worth of dirt and grime out of it, and there's still another probably 200 pounds of it somewhere in crevices and cracks, but at least now my universal joints on the ends of the drive shafts don't look like just soft balls of grease. You can actually see them kind of. So that's what we did first, and then after that I kind of let it dry out, pushed it back in the garage, let it dry out a little bit, but kind of went at it with a wire brush to see how well I could clean up the frame by hand. So I'm playing around with some ideas with that, but want to see how that did. I didn't go very far with it, just kind of want to see what success I would have, and so did a little bit of that, and then started taking stuff apart, which seems to be what I'm good at, or I don't know, maybe I'm not that good at it, but it's what I'm doing, I'm getting it done, and when it comes to putting it back together, we'll just, time will tell. So yeah, first thing we tackled was the air cleaner. The 66 Bronco, I don't know about the other years, but the 66 had a 6-cylinder, had a oil bath air filter. Still got the same original one, so got that disconnected and out of the way, and started taking off vacuum lines. Got the carb vacuum line removed, which runs from the carburetor to the distributor. Then we disconnected the fuel line from the carburetor and removed the carburetor. I've got a rebuild kit coming for the carburetor, I think. I ordered it from Vintage Inlines, and I don't know, it's kind of MIA, so I hope it comes. We'll see about that. Then after the carb was off, I went over and decided to disconnect the brake lines for the master cylinder. I tried to take the cap off the master cylinder. It was just stuck on. It was not coming off, which is okay because I'm not reusing it. I'm getting a new master cylinder anyways. But yeah, there's that the cap and the master cylinder body are now one. So disconnected the line from it and disconnected the master cylinder from the brake pedal and pulled the whole thing out completely. Then I moved over to the coil, got the coil freed, and behind the coil is the bracket for the air cleaner that with the coil out of the way you can get to. So took the air cleaner bracket out. Then I enlisted the help of my beautiful wife to help me take the hood off finally. So that went smoothly, and we're still married. So yeah, I'd been soaking the bolts with PB Blaster for a few days, and they broke free without any issues, and the hood came off, and we put it off to the side. All is well. Then after the hood, I took the gas pedal, the accelerator pedal assembly out off of the firewall. It was held on by maybe two, 3 or so bolts to the firewall. Came out without much of an issue at all. Then went over and started tackling hoses on the engine. So yeah, started with I guess the heater core hoses, which I'm not going to be installing a heater back into the Bronco. Just not something that I think is going to be useful for what we're going to do. But if I decide that I want to do that at some point in time, it's really not that big of a deal, and I'll do it at a later date. So took the heater core hoses off, one of the hoses, and then the other heater core hose runs through the carburetor, so took those 2 hoses off, runs from the carburetor to the heater core. And then I guess the upper and lower radiator hoses. So those were the last items that was connecting the body to the engine. So the radiator is free, the engine is free of the radiator, and there's nothing connecting the engine to the body anymore, which is what we're moving towards. The next step, as far as separating the body from the tub, is getting the body bolts out. That's not something that I've tackled, but I've got 2 body bolts that are hidden from me. At some point in time, the floor pans in the driver's side and the passenger side footwells had been sheeted over, and so I didn't have access to those bolts. So I measured where I thought they should be based on where they are underneath, and drilled a pilot hole and was confident that I was in the right area. So I took a cutoff wheel on the grinder and just cut a little 2-inch by 2-inch square around the pilot hole, and sure enough, I found both of them. And they were both in really, really bad shape. The driver's side more so than the passenger side, but I don't know. I don't have high hopes of finding any success in taking those out. I don't know. But they're exposed now, and I should be able to, well, they're exposed. That's all I would say. Beyond that, who knows? The driver's side is just, there's almost not even a bolt head left. It looks, I don't even know what to say about it. It's in really bad shape, and the passenger side is better, but it looks like everything is just kind of amalgamation of rust and dirt and I don't know, chewing gum. I don't know. So we'll see, but that's the point. That's the goal, is to get the body bolts out. And so I went around and shot everything with PV Blaster. I've got the 2 bolts in the front that I'm hitting religiously, and the 2 in the floor pans, the 2 behind the seats, and the 2 at the tailgate. And for that matter, I'm continuously hitting bolts all over the truck. Every time I walk through the garage, I grab the PV Blaster and I just hit, not random stuff, but pretty much everything that I can think of that I'm going to want to take apart. And I've been doing that for weeks. So hopefully that is useful. But I'm soaking everything in penetrating oil as much as I possibly can. And yeah, so that's what we're moving towards, is separating that tub from the body. There's still some things that need to be addressed before that happens, but that's we're one step closer. I just wish that the weather would cooperate, because right now it's just not, it's not comfortable to be working in the garage. It's really, really cold, particularly in the evenings and at the cold parts of the day. But so next time, I think probably what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble the dash. We pulled the dash out with all the components and the glove boxes and everything in it and all that stuff. And so I think we'll take that apart, get it stripped down, lay out the new dash. It's not going to be a new dash, but I've got different switches and different things that I want to do. So I'm going to try and lay that stuff out, and then look at the gauge cluster and see if I can't clean that up and spruce it up a little bit. Just take that apart and see what happens there. But that's a little bit of inside work that can be done while it's you know, sub-freezing outside, and then, you know, we'll take it from there. But I think that's what we'll probably work on next time. And you know, like always, if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, you know, feel free to leave me a comment, shoot me a message or whatever, and you know, I'll try to respond. And I'm always interested to hear what people are thinking, so feel free to do that. You know, other than that, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time on day 5. So yeah, see you then.